Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach. Welcome to Friday Fun Day. Now today, as promised, I made you our spicy winter scarf to go along with our spicy winter hat. So now you have a spicy set to wear outside when the winter is a little bit spicy. Although spicy really means hot. This is for when the weather is cold. All right, now the scarf itself measures 9 inches across and it's 48 inches long. Now remember, you can make it as long as you need. You like a shorter scarf, make it shorter. You really like a longer scarf, make it longer. That is totally up to you and your preferences. Another thing I want to talk about is yarn substitution. All right, now we're using the Spice Shop Premier yarn for this project. We did the hat and the scarf with this yarn. It's called Cayenne. It is a super bulky number 6. Another choice, if you don't like this, because this is an acrylic and wool blend, another good choice is the Chunky Bloom. And this one here we used on another project. It's called Poppy. And it is a bulky number 5, but you'll notice it's a pretty thick bulky number 5. And this one is a great substitution and would work great. And really any super bulky number 5 and some of your extra bulky number 6s will both work for this project, for the hat and for the scarf. All right, now what we're going to do is put the link for the scarf with pictures down in the notes underneath this video. And then I'll also put the link for the hat underneath this video. I'll put them right there together. And then we'll go back to the hat video and add the link for the scarf. That way you can find both pieces, okay? So all you need to make our spicy winter scarf is about 5 ounces or 160 yards of a bulky number 6 yarn. And again, this is the yarn that I chose to use, the Spicy Shop yarn from Premier. It's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. And the color is called Cayenne. Now remember, if you get a little itchy from wool, you can use any super bulky number 6 yarn for this project. But you're going to need about 5 ounces or about 160 yards. We're going to stitch with our L hook today, which is an 8 millimeter. And then all you need is a needle to weave in your ends and a pair of scissors. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot and we're going to chain 23 chains. Now remember, you want to chain this beginning chain just a little bit loose because you don't want the bottom of your scarf to be pulling in at all. All right? So loosely chain 23 chains. I have loosely chained 23 chains. And now we're going to place a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2. That, of course, is our double crochet. And then we'll double crochet in each of those chains across. And this is just making the foundation for our rows. And then once we get going, like I said, it's just going to be a simple 3-row repeat. So 1 double crochet in each of our chains across. We began in the 4th chain from the hook, and these 3 chains here count as our first double crochet. And then we stitched 1 in each chain across, so we have 21 double crochets. And we're only going to chain 1 and turn our work. For row 2, we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets, working all the way across our row. Now I know on the hat we did front and back loops, but we're not going to be doing that on the scarf. As I stated, I didn't like the way that it laid on the scarf, and so we're not going to be doing that. It's similar so that it matches, but it's not exactly the same as our work on the hat. All right, so for row 2, we chained 1. Chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so we started our single crochet in the first double crochet, and we're stitching 1 in each of our stitches across. So we began in the first single crochet because our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and we stitched 1 single crochet in each of our double crochets across. So we have 21 single crochets. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. Now our chain 3 does count as our first stitch, so we're going to double crochet in the next stitch and chain 1. Now we're going to skip the next and do a 2 double crochet cluster in the next. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and only go through the first 2 loops. Now yarn over, go back in that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through the first 2 loops. So now it looks like we have 2 unfinished double crochets plus that first loop. So we're going to yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops and chain 1. All right, and now we're going to repeat this across. So we've chained 1, we're going to skip the next and the 2 double crochet cluster in the next. And chain 1 and repeat. Skip, 2 double crochet cluster in the next. Well, that blue's coming in. That's really pretty. All right, and so we're going to repeat this across until we have 8 double crochet clusters. I have repeated that across. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of my 2 double crochet clusters, and we chained 1 before and after each of those clusters. All right, and so I've chained 1. We're going to skip the next stitch and then double crochet in those last 2 stitches. And chain 1. So for row 3, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our 2 double crochet clusters. Now we're ready for row 4. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And remember, the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We're going to go right in that first double crochet and stitch a single. Then we'll stitch a single crochet in the next. Now we're going to stitch a single crochet in that chain 1 space and then a single crochet in that cluster stitch. So we'll stitch a single in each of the chain 1 spaces and a single in each of those cluster stitches. Those 2 double crochet cluster stitches. All right, and this is going to give us 21 single crochets across. And so I stitched a single crochet in each of the chain 1 spaces and 1 in each of my cluster stitches. So this brings us to those last 3 stitches. We'll stitch a single crochet in the chain 1 space and then 1 single crochet in those last 2 double crochets. And this is again going to give us 21 single crochets. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And in this row of single crochets, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those single crochets, working all the way across our row. 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets all the way across. I have stitched 1 single crochet in each of my single crochets across, so again I have 21 single crochets. Now we're going to do another row of our 2 double crochet clusters. So we're going to chain 3. We're going to turn our work. We chained 3, and our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And so now we're going to double crochet in that next stitch and chain 1. Now we're going to stitch the 2 double crochet clusters. So we'll skip the next and stitch that 2 double crochet cluster. Just like we did on row 3, we're going to stitch a 2 double crochet cluster, chain 1, skip 1, and repeat until we have 8 double crochet clusters. All right, so chain 1, skip 1, double crochet cluster till we have 8 double crochet clusters, just like we did down here. So again, I have stitched my 8 double crochet clusters with my chain 1s in between. So now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to repeat these 2 rows here. So we'll turn our work. We'll single crochet in the first 2 double crochets. Then we'll single crochet in the chain 1 space and single crochet in our double crochet clusters. And we'll do this all the way across for 21 single crochets. And then we'll chain 1 and turn and stitch 1 single crochet in each across, just like we did with these 2 rows down here. All right, so 1 single crochet in each of those first 2 double crochets, and then 1 in the chain 1 space in each of our clusters all the way across, and then 1 in those last 2 single crochets, chain 1, turn, and then 1 single crochet in each across, again just like we did on these 2 rows right here. So I have completed those 2 rows of single crochet just like we did down here. And now we're going to repeat this row right here. So I chained 3. We're going to double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, and stitch our 8 2 double crochet clusters with the chain 1s in between. So chain 1, skip 1, 2 double crochet cluster, and repeat across so that we have a total of 8 double crochet clusters. And so again, I stitched the double crochet cluster row. We started with 2 double crochets, chain 1, cluster, and we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 clusters with our chain 1s in between, and then ended again with 2 double crochets. And now we're going to do that 2 rows of single crochet. So I've chained 1, turn my work, single crochet in the first stitch, and in each of the chain 1 spaces and cluster stitches, so that I have 21 single crochets. Then I'll chain 1 and turn and stitch another row of single crochets just like we did down here. And I think now you're catching on to what our 3-row repeat is all about. We have a row of cluster stitches and then 2 rows of single crochet. That's our repeat. So now I have completed those 3 rows. The row of our 2 double crochet clusters with our 2 double crochets on the ends, again with our chain 1s in between, and then 2 rows of single crochet. That is our 3-row repeat. And so you're going to continue to repeat row 9, row 10, and row 11 for 86 more rows. Okay, and that's going to get you your scarf the length that I have written for the pattern. Now, if you want your scarf shorter, do less repeats. If you want it longer, you can do as many repeats as you want to. All right, that's totally up to you. the length, you know, everyone likes them a different length, and so measure it and make it the length that you would like it to be. But we're going to be repeating row 9, row 10, and row 11 for 86 more rows, alternating those 3 rows. So I have repeated those rows, 2 single crochets and my 8 2 double crochet clusters with my 2 double crochets on each end, repeating this over and over again. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, when you've made it as many times as you wanted, and of course on the pattern we repeated it 86 times, but of course if you need to adjust it, do less or do more rows, you need to make sure that you end on a row 11, which is the last row of single crochet, because we have our 2 double crochet cluster row, single crochet row, then single crochet row. You need to end on that single crochet row, all right? Because after that, we're going to do another 2 double crochet cluster row and then a row of double crochet. And so to finish off the end of our scarf, we have those 2 rows of single crochet, so we're going to double crochet, then double crochet in the next, and repeat the 2 double crochet cluster row on the end here, just like we've been doing throughout our project. So I completed another row of the 2 double crochet cluster row, just like we have been doing through our project, and chain 3 and turn. And for our last row, we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the stitches, the same way we've been doing our single crochets. All right, so we'll double crochet in that next double crochet, we'll double crochet in the chain 1 space, double crochet in the cluster, double crochet in the chain 1 space. All right, and so instead of stitching a single crochet, we're stitching a double crochet. And this is the last row of our scarf, and we'll be able to tie off and weave it in when we're finished with this row. All right, so we're stitching a row of double crochets across, stitching in each of the cluster stitches and each of the chain 1 spaces, and of course the 4 double crochets. And so I have double crocheted in each of my stitches across. We're going to cut our yarn, tie that off, and I'll grab my needle and weave my end in. And now my scarf is all ready to be worn with my spicy hat. It makes a really easy and fun and warm project. And remember, there are other options of yarn besides this one that work great, like the chunky bloom works great if you can't handle the wool in your yarn. I know I get itchy from wool sometimes, but for some reason this yarn does not make me itchy. All right, so there's our last row. So I've now completed my scarf, and now I have a beautiful scarf to go right along with my beautiful hat. Now you can see I did not do the ridges that we have in the hat. They just didn't work right on the scarf, and so we just still did the 2 double crochet clusters and single crochets and came up with a really beautiful set for winter weather.